I myself being a hiring manager, I've looked for those that are able to demonstrate the skills and competencies that we have across different contexts. And that shows me your ability to adapt, to take the same toolkit that we have, that are all these techniques and competencies, and being able to apply them in different contexts via different companies or industries shows me a strong skill set, shows me someone who's really capable of doing analysis no matter what they're put into. Right? So be very intentional with your career, right? Determine what is it that I need to know, improve upon to, therefore add it to my CV and make me that much more of a shining star to the next hiring managers.
Welcome to the Inside Business Analysis Podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Jacobs, and today I am joined with David Vrbanek. David, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Tando. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being on, David. I really appreciate you taking the time to discuss with us today's conversation, which is around future-proofing our careers as business analysts and kind of thinking ahead, kind of beyond just what we're doing at the minute, and maybe even looking at the skill sets and the mindsets that we should adopt that will help us to still stay relevant, in the future as time goes on, David.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about, who could be best placed to kind of give us the crystal ball answers, I thought you would be best fit for that. You got almost 20 years experience in business analysis, spanning across various industries and sectors. And you've kind of worn quite a few hats along the way, right? Project management, business analysis, product ownership. And I thought you would be certainly best placed to give us that insight. But above your experience, you are also a teacher and coach and mentor of business analysis, which
Correct.
we will touch on at some point later on. But just kind of thinking about over the last 20 years, and just kind of think about your journey, what would you say has been the one thing that's kept you going?
The one thing that's kept me going is a willingness and an ability to learn, Tando. And that's one of the things that I look to preach to anyone and everyone that will listen, is the idea of never stop learning. There's always going to be changes in the technological advancements that we're all familiar with. There's going to be changes to project methodologies along the way. And that's the best way that we stay current and how we future-proof ourselves is just by keeping up the knowledge, keeping up the learning, and not getting stagnant in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, I co-sign that, and I love that perspective. And then let's fast forward now, kind of thinking ahead, say in the next 3 to 5 years. How do you then envision the business analysis profession evolving?
Well, I don't so much envision, Tando, as I hope that we will see more opportunities for new grads, interns, and any kind of junior roles that are out there. I've started to see, certainly where I am in North America, more and more organizations offering these types of roles, and my hope is that continues to grow. And so I hope that companies take that on board and give this new cohort of aspiring BAs that are out there in the marketplace right now an opportunity to get their first foot in the door, get that experience, get some projects under their belt, and just start to learn about this wonderful, crazy world of business analysis and build from there. Because unfortunately, as we've all seen, employers look for experience, but then candidates say, I don't have the experience, so where do I get that from? It becomes a vicious circle. So more organizations that give aspiring BAs the opportunity to learn, the more we'll have out there, the stronger the cohort will be, and the more higher quality BA work that'll be done.
Yeah. Do you know what that also probably points to, David? I think it also points to the need and requirement for seasoned and tenured business analysts to then look into also developing their leadership skills potentially, right? Because all of these new undergraduates or apprenticeships or younger professionals coming into this space will need that leadership and guidance from people who have gone before them effectively, right?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, I think the need is also going to grow for lead BA roles or BA manager roles or BA mentors within organizations as proper formal roles because, like you said, they're coming in. Someone's got to be there to guide them, support them, coach them along the way. And so, the opportunity exists for more seasoned folks like myself to be there and hopefully, impart some knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And are there any emerging trends that you're seeing at the minute which you think could shape the future of business analysis moving forward?
Yeah, I would say there's two. They're related, but I think there's some distinct paths within them. First one is AI. I think we'd all be foolish not to consider AI as part of our future as well as everyone's future. And so, keeping up again with trends, patterns within the world of artificial intelligence, because it's going to affect us all.
Yeah.
And the second one, again, interrelated, would be data. So anything to do with managing data, analyzing data, it's only going to grow and grow. Companies are storing more and more data about their customers' experiences, about their employees' work, and so there'll be more data to analyze, right? To glean meaningful insights from, turn into patterns and trends, and observations that can better inform decision making down the road. So those would be two trends that stick out in my mind.
Hmm. And so thinking about the first one, which is AI, I think a
Hmm.
lot of people maybe only think of AI from the perspective of, ChatGPT, if we're being completely honest.
Yes,
Uh,
please. Yeah, yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Or maybe from a
absolutely.
similar approach of what can I do with AI for my day-to-day tasks, so to speak. Um, is it just that, or is there more to it?
Well, there's more to it, and I think you can take it a level deeper. I firmly believe that AI will not fully replace BAs in the world of work that we do. I think our projects are too complex and nuanced and whatnot for AI to have enough sense, at least for now, what how to make that context work and make everything all sort of fit together, right? As that jigsaw puzzle that is the work on a project at times. But I think
Mm,
what we can do, and a prime example that I share it with others, is we can have AI do some of the grunt work
okay.
for us. So, for example, as you've gone out and done elicitation sessions via interviews, workshops, focus groups, and you've made a set of notes out of those sessions, you could feed that into AI and have AI
Right.
do the grunt work of going through and recognizing major themes, common language, terminology, what have you, and do that initial review to start to synthesize the information a little bit. And then we, as BAs, with our human minds, take it the rest of the way because we will have the full, true context of what are those circumstances, what are those conditions, what are those constraints that this project is facing that AI couldn't possibly have at this point. So that's an
Mm,
example I like to share, is like, let it help you in some way do the starting part, the more easier part that someone else could do, taking advantage of all that computing power, and then you do it the rest of the way. So it'll save you time.
yeah.
Is my minimal expectation.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, so you're seeing AI as an ally effectively, as opposed to something that will replace us, but something that will
Absolutely
enhance what we're doing.
spot on.
Yeah. And then the second part that you mentioned was about data, and I'm always fascinated with this one because data is I guess something that's always been there, but something that's certainly getting more recognition than it has been in the past. And I guess with that in mind, some people might then interpret that to mean we need to maybe start looking at data analysis skills. Is that how you're seeing it, or are you looking at it from a slightly different perspective?
I'm looking at it from the more foundational perspective, Tando, of
Yeah.
understanding data, how data is recorded, how data is stored, how is it managed, right? And start at that foundational level, because then you have that as a basis to use in whatever context you need, whether it's
Mm,
going to be something more rudimentary that involves a tool like Excel, or it's going to be something more advanced that involves SQL or Power BI or what have you. Then as long as you have that foundation there, then you can move forward on any project and apply those principles and apply that understanding to that work. But without that foundational understanding or knowledge, you'll be lost. You won't know how to handle this and how this is stored and how to treat this as this type of value or that type of value. And it sounds very technical,
yeah.
and there is certainly technicality to it, but it's not that hard. Like, it's not that difficult once you get grounded in the foundational concepts of data and what data management is all about. You can then apply it there forward. So I think, as
Mm,
BAs, whether we're new, aspiring, or seasoned, and we don't have that comfort level with data, it's just about getting that foundational knowledge and knowing, yes, there's some technicality to it, but it isn't as difficult as I thought it would be, or as techy
yeah.
as I thought it would be. It is something I can very much include in my skill set. and go on with it. Because as I said before, we're just creating more and more and more data as time goes on. And companies want to do something with that data, right? They want to turn that into something meaningful that they can use to create those better business outcomes that they're looking for.
Yeah, no, I think Spa. I love that. I love that, and that definitely makes it sound less scary. Albeit AI and data are big words, but actually, the approach that we're talking about here is certainly not one that's going to require us to reskill everything that we've been doing. We carry on doing what we're doing with a different lens.
And reskill, Tando, with the skills we already have. So
Mm,
practice what we preach. Treat it as a little project, right? If you want to upskill yourself in terms of data analysis, then treat that like a mini project. And how, as a BA, would you approach that if you were put on a project to learn this, right? You'd
mm,
understand the scope, you'd understand what's out there, what resources, what are my stakeholders, right? I like to call it who's who in the zoo, right
yep,
there.
yep,
Figure that all out and then treat it as that and accomplish the goal of that.
yeah,
So it can be done. It just requires that effort to move forward, which granted, I get is scary at times. Absolutely. I remember first
mm.
having to touch SQL many moons ago and thinking this is not my space. I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing, but just chipping away.
And maybe even stay ahead of the curve so that we're not left lagging behind all these changes that you're foreseeing.
Well, I would say there would be a few skills that I would encourage, new and aspiring BAs, especially, as even though seasoned BAs would have been included in that.
Mm.
And the first one would be prompt engineering. So,
Okay.
to our point on AI, in order for you to be as effective as you possibly can, the more clearer you make the prompts to tools like ChatGPT and others, the more clearer and more quality outcome you're going to get from them, right? So this sort of took me back when I first started thinking this to my high school English classes and remembering my high school English teacher telling me all about spelling, grammar, and punctuation and how to properly form a sentence and what have you. And it seems very rudimentary, but that is a lot of what it takes to do this type of prompt engineering in order to get the quality outputs that you're looking for and to really leverage what artificial intelligence can provide us. So that is one skill set I've shared with others, that if you can build some solid prompt engineering skills, then you will better be able to leverage, what's here in terms of AI and what's also coming in terms of AI. To my earlier point about data analysis, Excel. I am a huge fan of Microsoft Excel. I love it. You learn to love it. It is absolutely fantastic. You
Mm.
will not lose 1 hour of effort or development on Excel. I've used it on absolutely every single project I've worked on over my last 19 years, whether it's small math to do some basic calculations or more robust models to help calculate out some formulas or some charges from a vendor or whatnot. It is absolutely a very powerful tool. So to those out there, if you're not familiar with it or you don't yet love it, learn to love it. It will pay off in spades in your career. That I promise.
Mm. That's so interesting to me. But we'll come back to the Excel. I just want to touch on prompt engineering, just in case there's someone listening to this and they've never heard of that concept before.
Sure.
Can you just break down in simple terms what that is?
So, as anyone who's experienced, these tools like ChatGPT, you are given an opportunity to ask it questions or to have it perform a task for you, and that is referred to as a prompt. And so, prompt engineering is the ability to craft these prompts in such a way that they are clear, accurate, and complete statements or a singular statement that will get you the output you're looking for. And by no means is anyone going to nail it the first time, Tando, right? We're going
Mm.
to get an output and it's not going to be exactly right. And that could be because of our prompt not being clear enough or specific enough, or because there's a limitation with the knowledge that tools like ChatGPT have at this moment. And then you just iterate
Yeah.
like we do with our requirements work. We iterate it until we get to that final package that is ready for approval and moving forward. So that's effectively prompt engineering.
Yeah, which which is so interesting to me because it's almost another way of saying ask better questions, but instead of asking
Yes.
them to stakeholders, you're asking it to a AI, a system.
Exactly. And when you see that the system is not understanding you clearly enough, then
Yeah.
maybe it's an opportunity for you to think, maybe I can rephrase my question in a way that is clear, that is more specific and has more context to it, and therefore get a better response. Absolutely
Yeah.
spot on. Yep.
And with the Excel one, that surprised me because I guess Excel people kind of think, well, it's not the sexiest tool in the room, it's not
Correct.
necessarily the thing that you would shout from the rooftops about. I want to shout from the rooftops about all these fancy new tools that everyone else is talking about, but Excel seems to be that one neglected but very, very foundational thing that no matter which organization you go to, they will have Excel. They may not have Visio, they may not have Lucidchart, they may not have Salesforce, but they will definitely have Excel.
Absolutely. And think on this as well, Tando, and everyone. If you look at all the major systems you work with in your workplaces, the vast majority of them, I would argue, have an export to Excel function built within them. Why is that? Right?
Mm,
Because those systems have limitations, and or they just have chosen not to go down the path of providing those features or capabilities because there's already a tool like Excel that will do it, that is much more readily available and has all the power that the user needs. So yeah, I have learned it. I've learned to love it. It has, again, paid off in spades for me in terms of building my skill set, building my understand of financials, right? Whether that's project financials or just the general company's financials and how those all work and what metrics are more important to others and what have you. It's
mhm.
just, I cannot strongly recommend it any more than I am right now. It is a very, very powerful tool and one that every BA should be proficient at. It will,
Yeah.
again, it will pay off.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that because I remember when I would have said I'm proficient at Excel until I saw a TikTok of someone showing some real shortcuts to Excel and doing some things that I thought were just wow, that looked so impossible. So actually,
Exactly.
to your point, Excel, I'd probably argue we probably use 20% of its capability.
Even less. I would
Even
argue even less. But that's what makes it so powerful, is that there is that much more room to grow. And I'm not suggesting you learn how to do visual basic macros and do that kind of more advanced level work. But even just working within the formulas and functions that are there beyond the simple, sum and sum if and whatnot, there's a whole bunch there that can be valuable to us. Again, not just in a financial context, but just, manipulating and normalizing any data set or data sets that we have to work with. A lot of these tools are there. And once you learn them, you can
yeah,
really condense the amount of time and effort it takes to do this work, and hopefully become an Excel guru where you are. And that,
yeah,
again, is a great feather in your cap.
it really is. It really is. And so, thinking about the skill set side of things, then, as BAs, there are a lot of skills, both what's known as soft skills and then what's also known as hard skills that
Yes.
are really, really potent for us in our careers. If you had to pick three skills to kind of really make sure that we've mastered, we've really kind of hit the nail on this head, we're not found lacking in those three skills as BAs, particularly in the future, looking us future proofing ourselves. What would you say those three are?
I think we've touched upon a couple of them already in prompt engineering and
Mm,
Excel, sort of data
mm,
analysis there. The third one that I would suggest, Tando, is I'm going to call it a group of
okay,
skills, and that's visual modeling.
right.
No one in this day and age has the appetite or the inclination to go through and review pages upon pages, paragraphs upon paragraphs of text. No one. We are in an age where we want information quickly. We want to be able to digest it quickly, give you what you need as feedback as a BA, and then move on with the project's work. So any proficiency you can build in visual modeling, from process modeling to
Mm,
data flow diagrams to entity relationship diagrams, context diagrams to kick off the project scope, anything and everything to do with these visual representations will be all the more better and all the more powerful of a communication tool back to your stakeholders to say, is this what you said you needed? Right? This is what I heard you said you needed. Have I represented it clearly, accurately, and completely here in this one or collection of diagrams? And then get that feedback, right? Where most
mm,
people are visual, right? That's why we have tools like PowerPoint always supporting any kind of presentation or delivery of any information so people can follow along as the person speaks. So know that and take advantage of that by getting really strong and building all these models out there that are espoused in the body of knowledge from the IABA and other organizations to make our communication back to our stakeholders that much more effective.
Yep, as a naturally visual kind of person, I have to say I appreciate that one. Which of the following two statements would you say you agree with? Because I've heard these in some camps, and I'm just curious to know where your thoughts lie.
Sure.
The first statement is people say that business analysts should specialize in something, whether it's an industry or a technology. So, for example, they might say become a Salesforce business analyst or something of that nature. The second statement is actually the opposite, which is the business analyst should kind of focus on being what is termed the generalist business analyst, and maybe even build a breadth of experience as opposed to being siloed into one thing. Which of those two camps would you say you side with, and why?
Generalist 100%. And the reason for that is that my experience has shown me that companies are looking for BA candidates who provide not only a depth of understanding on the projects they've worked on, but have established that depth over a breadth of experiences, systems, projects, companies, industries, and what have you. And that is more enticing, I think, to a hiring manager than focusing on any one industry. And also, by focusing on any one industry or vertical, like Salesforce, per your example, you set a limitation for yourself in the marketplace. Because if you choose to specialize in that, Salesforce is, a phenomenon these days, for lack of a better word, and there are likely going to be opportunities out there, but you are limiting yourself. And when they bring on BAs in organizations, and I myself being a hiring manager at times, I've looked for those that are able to demonstrate the skills and competencies that we have across different contexts. And that shows me your ability to adapt. That shows me your ability to be versatile, to take the same toolkit that we have, that are all these techniques and competencies, and being able to apply them in different contexts via different companies or industries shows me a strong skill set, shows me someone who's really capable of doing analysis no matter what they're put into. And we've not all done everything, right? No one has done every project in every system across every industry in the world. So we all have limited experiences. But how have you taken what you've learned and leverage that? How have you been able to apply that in a situation you've not been faced with before? So generalist all the way.
Love that. Yeah, I think you've defended that one very well. And hopefully that would also help people who have been thinking about, I guess, pursuing the generalist path, should I say?
Yes.
Why that would be a benefit for them. And do you think that certifications play any role in this perspective?
I think they do, from the perspective, Tando, that they never hurt.
Okay.
It will never be a wasted time or effort to obtain a certification, right? It establishes a certain credibility. Some certifications, as we know, the more foundational ones are about establishing academic knowledge, whereas the more advanced certifications or designations include demonstrating work experience to go along with the academic knowledge. So either way, you are telling the marketplace, I have done this. I have demonstrated this level of knowledge and or work experience, and therefore have deemed accordingly by certain accredited organizations and what have you. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It isn't a matter of just obtaining them all and adding a whole bunch of letters to the end of your name if there's no meaning, if there's no experience behind them to support them, right? So obtain ones, focus on, be intentional about the ones you want to pursue because you feel it's going to make sense for the industry you work in or the company you work for, or what have you. So nothing ever wrong with doing it. One of my big beliefs is to never stop learning, as I mentioned a few moments ago. And that's one way to keep learning, is to obtain these certifications. I recently, just in December of last year, obtained my certified Scrum product owner.
Nice.
Right? After all these years of doing it, I know that, again, I never should stop learning. And In my current role, I need to support a product owner very closely. So how can I better
Right.
understand what he or she needs, if not understanding their role through such a certification opportunity? So I took advantage of it, and I'm glad I did.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And I think that that speaks to, there's something to be said about somebody in of your caliber still, you know, going through that experience of being a student of the game, so to speak, and
Absolutely.
then coming out with certifications after kind of that period of learning. So yeah, there's something to be said about that for sure.
We will always be students of the game, Tando. We should never, ever stop learning. Never,
Yeah.
ever.
Yes. Are there any mistakes that you see BAs making that you feel would cost their prospects in the long run?
I would say it not being intentional with your career, as opposed to hoping or wishing that something will happen and getting the opportunity. It's more about you proactively going out and making those opportunities happen. I'm, a believer, just based on my own experience and that of colleagues of mine, that you do need to move ahead intentionally in your career. So maybe not stay in your organization for 5 to 10 years, but after a few years, once you've established yourself and done good work, that's an opportunity for you to leverage that and take that on to a higher position within the same organization, certainly, or a higher position within another organization, and build on from there, right? That's again what hiring managers I found are looking for, is have you been able to apply your skills in many situations, in many contexts, as we said before? And if you've been able to do that proactively of your own accord, that shows you have the value we're looking for.
Hmm.
Right. So be very intentional with your career, right? Determine what is it that I need to know? What, if any, certifications do I need to pursue that would be most helpful for me in this current industry or this current organization I'm in? What do I need to learn? What visual models am I not good at? And what can I, improve upon to therefore add it to my CV and make me that much more of a, shining star to the next hiring manager. So be very intentional, be very proactive with it, as opposed to wishing and hoping that something is going to happen. And that's universal guidance, I imagine, for any career path, not just BAs, but I've certainly found that and experienced that within the BA world.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that is such a powerful position to take, personally. And that intentionality speaks volumes when you tap into it and you really kind of say, "Yep, I'm being intentional about either becoming a business analyst or growing as a business analyst." There's something that intentionality just brings to how you show up at work and how you show up on projects and all the rest of it. So, I definitely love that message. So shifting gears, David, you are also a business analysis instructor,
I am.
and this is at the University of Toronto, where you teach two courses, I believe: Foundations of Business Analysis and Business Analysis Tools and Techniques.
Yes, those are two of three courses within their business analysis certificate program, and I've
Right.
also taught the third one there, their leadership in business analysis, as well. It's truly my passion, Tando. The story behind that is, again, part of the intentionality point that I made earlier. I was looking for something to expand my skill set and expand my career opportunities, and I literally cold called the university and said,
Oh
do
wow.
you have any positions in business analysis that you have open at the moment? And they didn't necessarily have it, but they took the opportunity to meet with me. I outlined my skills and experience, and 2 weeks later, I was shadowing their lead instructor, and that was 11 years ago. And so,
Wow.
yeah, you absolutely have to be intentional with the work you want to do, and it's like I said, it's grown into my passion. I love it every single time. Once the clock strikes, whatever, top of the hour, start the webinar recording, and off we go. And the bad dad jokes fly, and the passion comes out, and it just, yeah, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Oh, that is so incredible. That is so incredible. And typically, what kind of your cohort? What are they? What journeys are they on? Is it more on the fresh graduates, undergraduates, postgrads, or more adult learners?
It is a mixed bag, actually.
Yeah.
So I've had people who have just finished their undergraduate degree and came to realize that that field would not be a fit for them. And they have heard all about business analysis and that it's a hot job in demand and what have you, and want to learn about it for the very first
Mm.
time. I've had others on the other end of the spectrum who have been in the role for 3 to 5 years, but haven't formalized
Oh,
their
interesting.
knowledge and their skills. So they're hearing terms bantied about. They're not sure if that's what they're doing or if they're doing it right, so to speak. And so coming into these courses gives them a chance to formalize and understand through, what the IABA espouses through the BABOK and whatnot, what these terms are, what they mean, what's the purpose, what's our toolkit available to us as business analysts, and so and everyone in between, for that matter.
Yeah. Oh no, awesome. That sounds like the mixed bag sounds great. I mean, it just shows how much attraction the business analysis profession has already to be able to
Absolutely.
capture existing and upcoming business analysts in one classroom. It sounds like a powerful place to be.
No, and it really, I think it reflects what our role in our profession is all about, Tando, is that opportunity to get in there and really contribute, like analyze, break down information, synthesize it back up in a way that it all makes sense from all of those disparate inputs we get from various stakeholders, and being able to contribute that way. Like, to me, it's the most professionally rewarding work I've ever done, because at the
Mm.
end of the day, when you've delivered on that project or in that next release, in an agile based context, they're, as the business stakeholders and business operations, they're going to use that day in and day out. They're going to use those capabilities that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into, and see them save on cost, increase revenue,
Mm.
better handle calls, whatever the outcome is. And you had a hand in that. And that is
Mm.
ultimately what I've seen as well, is that those people that sponsor these projects, those senior or upper level executives, are looking for people who have successfully delivered. And so your
Mm.
name is attached to those deliveries. And when they look for to the
Yeah.
day to day operations of that organization, tighter processes, better working systems, clearer policies, business rules, whatever those components are of the solution that your team delivered, your name is attached to that forever. And if
Yeah.
you do it well and you successfully deliver, then yeah, you can be on your way.
Yeah, totally, totally. Oh my goodness, that sounds like you're having a real blast of a time teaching business analysis and empowering people to make these impacts. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, absolutely, Tando. It's absolutely my passion. I love it every single time. I'm teaching, 2 to 3 nights a week for the last 11 years. So yeah, I
Oh, beautiful.
absolutely love it.
Well, I mean, your work has obviously led to you being honored with the 2002 Career Impact Award from the university, which is kudos to you for that, I
That
guess.
was quite an honor. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I was really touched to get that, and the fact that that came from a nomination from
Right.
learners in the course. It isn't
Oh.
something necessarily that the school, awards committee announced. It was a nomination from learners that said we had this experience, and then the awards committee took that into account to honor me with that. So yeah, very very touching moment. I was highly appreciative of it.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, David, I have really, really enjoyed our conversation today.
Likewise.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I really appreciate your words of wisdom and sharing with us, what your perspective is in terms of what's coming up ahead for the BA career path and how we can prepare ourselves and future-proof our careers moving forward, and maybe even the kind of skill sets that we should be kind of really mastering and focusing on as business analysts. Before we close this conversation off, there's just two questions for me. The first question is, if there's somebody listening to this and love to reach out to you, pick your brain about either what you're doing at the university, or maybe even see if they can be mentored or coached by yourself, what is the best place for them to do that?
The best way to do that, Tendo, is to reach me at my website, which is everyday-ba.ca.
Okay.
So that will list out any opportunities for coaching or mentoring that anyone's interested in, as well as all the courses that I'm teaching at any point in time. So I try to keep that up to date there. So everyday-ba.ca would be the best way to reach out.
Awesome. I will put the link to your website in the show notes of the podcast.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. The final question, David, is that you touched on this at the very beginning about never stop learning as being kind of the mantra of your approach as a business analyst, and what we should all kind of take to heart. With that in mind, what would you say to another business analyst who has similar years of experience as yourself, and they're really experienced, right? And they're listening to your conversation, and maybe even surprised that you did a certification fairly recently, knowing that you have got years and years of experience. How would you encourage them to also have a never stop learning mindset into their work?
It's really hard to put it in any other words, Tando, other than never stop learning. I think that mantra speaks for itself. There's always going to be something that changes, right? Change is the only constant in life and in project land, that fun, magical place in which all of us BAs work. So we have to anticipate that and be prepared for that. And one of the ways to do that is to continually develop professionally, find new things to learn, new ways of doing work. And I think that in and of itself should hopefully be enough motivation for a more seasoned BA to carry on. We are all students of the game, right?
Yeah.
And it never stops. So never ever stop learning, folks.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, once again, David, thank you so much for joining. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Likewise. Thank you, Tando.